Last but not the least, we would also like to acknowledge everyone who is watching us live through our official page. I now humbly request our ECA coordinator, Mr. Jay Gaudil, to felicitate the judges with khadas, and our principal, Mr. Amba Datta Joshi, to provide our judges with the token of love. Thank you, sir. The participants were provided with 4 very thought-provoking topics, which are
Youth in politics,
Rajnitima Yuva,
justice is never the same for all,
न्याय सबैको लागि समान हुँदैन,
freedom of speech can be abused,
अभिव्यक्ति स्वतन्त्रताको दुरुपयोग हुन सक्छ,
willpower and will to power.
इच्छा शक्ति र शक्तिमा पुग्ने इच्छा. The students are provided with 5 minutes to share their viewpoints and are also provided with the liberty to either speak in Nepali or in English.
Now, for the briefing about the evaluation criteria, I would like to call upon our respected judge, Mr. Mahesh Paudel.
Hello. My respected Guru, Professor Dr. Jiblal Sapkota, CEO of this Premier College, members of its managerial and administrative team, and members of the faculty, and dear students, good morning. Let me start with a couple of anecdotes. We in Nepal say, bolne ko pitho bikcha. So, bolne is an integral part of our personality building. I had read somewhere that when our leaders stand in the parliament to speak, the only fear in the audience is that they might speak too long. There was a parliamentarian called Robert Babington Macaulay in the British Parliament, and the fear about him was that he might speak too short. He might speak too short. They wanted to listen to him on and on and on and on. This is anecdote number 1. And anecdote number 2, when Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao of the Congress Party was the Prime Minister of India, their staunchest opposition was Bharatiya Janata Party, and its leader was Atal Bihari Vajpayee. P.V. Narasimha Rao sent Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the arch-rival to the United Nations, to speak about India. And he was asked, "Esto kina gareko? Dushmanlai kina pathaeko United Nations ma? Afno sarkarko palama bhandakeri." His reply was, "Ulle jati ramro Bharatko barema kasaile bolदैन." Look, when you are such a charismatic speakers, people cut across the party lines and ideological barriers. This is the power of public speaking. So in today's we will have the glimpses of the great speakers of our future. त्यसको एउटा रिहर्सल अथवा त्यसको प्रिमियर शो भनेर हामीले बुझेका छौं. आजको यस कार्यक्रममा, because I am switching tongues, because आज नेपालीमा पनि अंग्रेजीमा पनि वक्तव्यहरू सुन्ने भएको हुनाले मैले पनि त्यही रिहर्सल गरिरहेको छु. हामीले बनाएको क्राइटेरिया अनुसार तपाई आफ्नो वक्तव्यमा कसरी प्रवेश गर्नुहुन्छ, तपाईको प्रवेशको बिन्दु, beginning of the speech, use of greeting words, entering the topic, र टपिकको लिङ्केजमा तपाईलाई म्याक्सिमम 5 नम्बर दिइनेछ। तपाईको विषयको विषयवस्तु अथवा कन्टेन्ट, प्लजिबल आइडियाज, तपाईले फ्लोट गरेको आइडियाजहरूको बीचमा तादम्य अथवा कोहेरेन्स र कोहेजन, यसका लागि 30 नम्बर छुट्याइएको छ। युज अफ ग्लोबल एन्ड लोकल एक्जाम्पल्स, तपाईले भनिदिएर मात्रै भएन, भनेको कुरालाई उदाहरण सहित पुष्टि पनि गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ। त्यो एउटा विश्वसनीय वक्तव्यको शैली हो। त्यसमा तपाईलाई तपाईको लोकल ग्लोबल एक्जाम्पल्सको लागि 20 नम्बर र तपाईले चुज गरेको शब्दावलीहरू, तपाईको शब्द चयनका लागि 15 नम्बर गरेर त्यहाँ 35 नम्बर हामीले छुट्याएका छौँ। यसै गरी एउटा बोल्ने मान्छेले मूर्तिवत उभिएर बोलिरह्यो भने उसको बोली जति राम्रो भए पनि राम्रो मानिन्न। तपाईले बोलेको कुरा तपाईको अनुहारमा, तपाईको भावभङ्गीमा अथवा तपाईको शरीरको भाषामा पनि उसै गरी परिलक्षित हुनु अपेक्षित छ। युज अफ जेस्चर्स, आई कन्ट्याक्ट अथवा बडी ल्याङ्ग्वेज, यसमा 15 नम्बर छुट्याएको छ। र समयनिष्ठता, किनकि यो प्रतियोगिता हो, बोलेकै गरेर रात पराइदिनु भने पनि राम्रो मानिन्न। त्यसैले टाइमिङभित्र स्पिचको अन्त्य कसरी गर्नुहुन्छ र एन्डिङ वर्ड्स र जेस्चर्स कस्तो छ, यसमा तपाईलाई जम्मा 15 नम्बर छुट्याएका छौँ। यसरी 100 नम्बरभित्र हामीले तपाईको यो पूर्ण स्पिचलाई मूल्याङ्कन गर्नेछौँ। धेरै धन्यवाद। सबैलाई शुभकामना। नमस्कार।
Thank you, sir.
Give me the liberty to speak, to utter, and to argue according to conscience, above all liberty. With this quote being said, we now officially begin with today's program. What is justice, and is it the same for all? To provide her views on this very interesting topic, we call our first participant, Nicole Kadel from grade 11, section K, morning shift, who will be talking about justice is never the same for all. Please join me in welcoming her with a round of applause.
We have a right to protest against injustice. That's all we can do. There are people suffering. There are people hurting. So we have an obligation. We have a mandate to do something. Greetings to everyone present here. I am Nicole Kadil from grade 11, section K, morning shift. And today I stand in front of you all to deliver a speech on the title, Justice is Never the Same for All. Let me take a moment to give a quick overview of justice before proceeding with the main subject of my speech. Justice is the ethical and philosophical idea that people are to be treated impartially, fairly, and reasonably by the law. When any sort of crime is committed against us, it is our natural instinct to seek justice from the judicial system, hoping that the perpetrator will be caught and adequately punished for the wrong that they did to us. Unfortunately, our society's justice system frequently fails to live up to our expectations. Our class, color, caste, and gender are used to assess us, and whether or not we deserve justice is then determined. It is as messed up as it sounds. Justice in today's world depends on whether or not we fit the societal standards. It has been made absolutely clear that in contrast to privileged groups, marginalized groups of people in our society are frequently denied justice. According to the Global Justice Project, there is a global justice gap of an estimated number of 5 billion people. Now, allow me to present to you some instances where different groups experience different kinds of justice. Justice for a victim means getting the perpetrator caught and punished, but for the accused, justice can mean getting pardoned or even acquitted from the case. In both the scenarios, justice means being given what they seek the most, which is quite the contrary to each other. Moving on, how does class affect justice? It is much more easier for higher class people to receive justice than it is for lower class people, simply due to their social status and wealth. It is also more likely for a rich person to get away with their crimes against a poor person. On the other hand, lower class people are frequently delayed and eventually denied justice just because they cannot buy the system off. Likewise, gender bias in terms of justice is not a made-up concept like most people believe it to be. Justice systems all over the world frequently deny women basic reproductive and sexual rights and fail to acknowledge their role in the society. On the other hand, no such restrictions against men's reproductive and sexual rights have been made yet. This is not me trying to say that the patriarchy does not affect men, because it does. Male victims of sexual assault are rarely taken seriously in comparison to female victims. It is also less likely for a man to be given his child's custody during a legal proceeding. Another example of how justice is different for different groups is a problem in our own surrounding that is often ignored and looked past. Caste-based discrimination in Nepal is still intact today, although it is not as rigid as it was in the past. According to research, lower caste people or Dalits of Nepal are more prone to face violence from higher caste people and be condemned as social outcasts despite it being against the law. Human rights activist Meenakshi Gautam once said, and I quote, "There are laws against caste-based crimes in Nepal, but they are rarely applied. And often, police refuse to even register cases of crimes like rape when the victim is a Dalit." Talk about how infuriating and unjust this is. Discriminations like these are a major setback for us as a society. Furthermore, in an international arena, race plays a huge part in terms of justice. Due to racial oppression, it is more likely for a white person to get away with a crime against a person of color. On the other hand, a person of color is highly probable to be harshly convicted for a much lesser offense against a white person. How can all of this be classified under justice and fair treatment when it's just the perpetrators getting away with their crimes simply due to their privileges? Recognizing one's own privileges, whether that is of caste, color, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, and actively advocating against how justice is served differently to different people. To sum up, there is absolutely no doubt that justice is indeed not the same for everyone. And instead of ignoring this fact, there should be a collective effort made to bring a change, because everyone deserves justice, no matter their social status, the language they speak, the color of their skin, their gender, their sexual orientation, or the severity of their situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kandel, for a wonderful presentation. You are fluent in your speech, your gestures, your pitch level is very fine, attractive, as well as impressive. But the thing that you have just quoted one of Meenakshi Gautam, apart from this, you could not support your claim with SAFER, S-A-F-E-R. S means statistics, A means anecdote, F means facts, E means example and evidences, and R means reason. Try to, in your coming days, if you support your claim, either following this SAFER, you will be an outstanding speaker, globally renowned. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a small observation about your speech. You did not greet anybody, I think. In the very beginning, you said, this is the only thing we can do. Like, speak about justice is the only thing. That's not. We can go out, we can reach out to the people, first thing. Second thing is, you talked about male-female discrepancy. You did not cite an example. You talked about white-black discrepancy in America or in the Western world. There are so many examples. You had this opportunity and you missed them. So in the days to come, I think you will follow these gestures. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
interesting topic, youth in politics. Now, whenever we speak about politics, the first thing that strikes our mind is that politics is a dirty game played by outdated people who can barely put up with today's time. And if we look at the political situation of Nepal, youngsters have rarely been given priority. Now, turning the pages of history, be it while overthrowing the Rana regime in 2007, or be it in the years 2017, 2063, or even 2064, youth have been a major part of the change. Now, if we look at the condition of Nepal, keeping aside the luxurious needs, people cannot even put up with basic needs. And if we look at the position of our country, we still are in the same filthy position as before. So do you think all the blood shedded by the martyrs and all the fights for democracy, was it all worth it? Definitely not. Every day, thousands of youths wait 6 to 7 hours in line just to head outside of the country. Now imagine, if the same youth headed towards the parliament of our country, what would have happened? Yes, Nepal would definitely be in a better position. We all have waited a lot for someone to come and help build our country. But until and unless someone says, enough is enough and I am going to do it all by myself, nothing is going to change. And let me ask you, how long is it going to take you to realize that someone is you, me, and that someone is the youth? Let us remember that we need to trust the youth. If we look nationally or even internationally, be it the Prime Minister of Finland, Sarah Marin, or be it the national leaders of our country like Balen Shah, Sunita Dangol, or even Ravi Lamechhane, all these people are now in power. Why? Because now we slowly have started believing in the power of youth. And this is what we need to do. You and me, until and unless we stop hating politics, nothing in this world is going to change. Wherever youth have entered, the situation has changed. So now it is the time that you and I, we open our eyes and we need to work for the change. Let me remind you all something. History does not repeat in the same way. But remember, the patterns are similar. So this time, we need to vote differently. This time, we need to choose something different. And ironically, the politicians of our country, they are good at everything, but except politics. So this is the time that we youth come out of the curtain and lead from the beginning, lead from the front, and take our country to prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja sir, for your short and sweet speech on the topic called youth in politics.
Thank you, sir.
Your presentation short and sweet, but you have to incorporate what do we mean by youth, okay?
Yes, sir.
And politics, when talk about politics, you have to talk about two types of power. One is repressive state power and ideological state power. How these powers help, we can say, youth to come into, we can say, action. You can take example from American independence, French Revolution, the revolution of the democracy movement in Nepal from 2007, 2046, 2048, 2062, and even today. If you have come with these examples, your speech would be very, very outstanding. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Apart from the Prime Minister of Finland, I didn't hear any other great example of youth's participation in international politics. First thing. Second thing is, you made certain sweeping generalizations. Like you said, you know, young people are in power, and you cited Ravi Lamechhane as an example. And I wonder what power Ravi Lamechhane presently holds. He is yet to come to power, you know. And the last thing is, at one point I felt you were appealing for votes, you know. You were campaigning for voting in favor of the youth, which I think is not quite proper to a competing speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your amazing words, Pooja. You surely were amazing. We wish you all the best.
The next participant of today is Biraj Paudel, who will be sharing his viewpoint on the very debatable topic, justice is not the same for all.
Thank you, Miss. Once a wise man said, justice is the pet of rich and powerfuls, which barks on everyone else except the master himself. Good morning, everyone. Honorable Principal Sir, respected panel of judges, respected faculties, and all of you cheerful people present here at this yard of Global College of Management. It's me, Biraj Paudel, from grade 11, section F, day shift. And today, I am presented to you to share my views and express my thoughts regarding the topic, justice is never same for all. So without any further ado, I'd like to get into the topic. Before entering into the depth of topic, I'd like to define what justice is. Different people define justice differently, but I, as a layman, have my own words for justice. Justice, my friends, is assurance. Yes, assurance of equal opportunities to all, assurance of fair behavior, and assurance of just treatment to all. Assurance is also punishment to the guilty, and assurance is also compensation to the victim. Yes, my friends, justice is assurance. By the definition and the nature, justice is supposed to be equal, same, and just for all. But let's come to the reality. Is really justice same for all? And the answer is obvious no. Now let me explain myself with few examples. Let's go back 4 years in 2018. A 13-year-old girl named Nirmala Panta was found raped and viciously murdered in the very fields of Kanchanpur. Her helpless parents reported the case of rape in the police and waited for justice, but only thing they got was delay. And let's move 3 years forward. Just last year in 2021, a famous singer named Samiksha Adhikari reported the case of rape against equally famous celebrity Paul Saab. And I don't know, my friends, what attracted our state into that the state investigated the case, punished the guilty, and compensated the victim within 1 year. I know that is very appreciable work of the state, but I wonder, my friends, where that part of state was when helpless, when devastated parents of Nirmala Panta demanded for justice, not once, not twice, but for 4 consecutive years. This is how, my friends, justice differs for everyone. This is how, my friends, justice is never same for all. To those with power, to those with influence, justice is done. Justice is delivered to them. But for people like us, for people like you, and for people like me, justice is delayed and delayed and delayed until it is denied one day. It's not only about criminal justice. We can talk a lot about social justice as well. Today, people like us, we are here with every privileges one can get to read, to claim our right to education. But is such opportunity available to all? To those people hanging on the doors of microbus, or to those with black hands cleaning the dishes, or to those with burnt hands carrying the hot bricks, where do they claim their right to education? Probably nowhere, my friends. And it's not only about criminal justice, social justice, or any other type of justice. We can talk about economic justice as well. Today, 1%, only 1% of richest of the rich share 75% of world's total wealth, and remaining 99% people like you and me are obliged to live with remaining 25% of wealth. Is this justice? Is this same for all means? My dear friends, that's why I'm saying justice is never same for all. Back then, when I was a child, people used to talk a lot about justice. Then I had a vivid image of a bold lady, the Lady of Justice, standing blindfolded with balance in her left hand and sword in her right. I thought the blindfold was supposed to mean that for her, no matter how you look, no matter what you are, no matter who you are, everyone are same for her. I thought the balance was supposed to mean that she serves justice equal and same for her. I thought the sword was supposed to swing at everyone who deserve it. But my friends, justice the Lady of Justice isn't blindfolded properly. The Lady of Justice balance doesn't work anymore, and the sword of Lady of Justice swings on those without power, swings on those without influence. That is why, my friends, I am saying justice is never same for all. Justice is never and ever same for all. That's my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Biraj Paudel, for your robust presentation. You come with content as well as some statistics, as well as example and evidences and some reason. That's a good point from you. But at the beginning, by mistake, you said, I am presented my views over here. I am
Thank you, Biraj.
Freedom of speech. Can it really be abused? Let us know how from our next participant. Please welcome Sneha Maske from grade 12, section J, day shift, to present her views on the topic freedom of speech can be abused. The floor is all yours.
You can choose your words, but you cannot choose the effect that they can have on people. Good morning, everyone present over here. I am Sneha Maske, standing in front of you all to discuss a topic called freedom of speech can be abused. Firstly, what is freedom of speech? It means that government cannot arrest or punish you for whatever you say. So basically, you can bash whoever or whatever you want to, and still, it's not illegal. Now, what is abuse? It simply means causing harm. It can range from disrespect to causing someone mental or physical pain. The founding fathers of freedom of speech believed that it is a democracy, fundamental to democracy. And they were right. Without it, there could not have been happened civil rights movements or women right to vote movements. And it is actually a blessing for all those people who got justice by speaking what they believe in. But on the other hand, freedom of speech can be abused. For most of the part, the hate speech is covered under freedom of speech. Those speeches include attacking people based on their religion, sexuality, origin, disability, and like. So basically, a speaker can say the most homophobic, racist, or sexist thing. And yet, that's not illegal. That's what they say. Now, if you all want to know how freedom of speech can be abused, let me take you all back to my childhood days. Back then, there was a guy at my school. He used to tell me, "Oh my God, Sneha, you're so ugly, man. You're so dark. Go wash your face." Everybody used to laugh it out. And my teacher, she used to tell me, "Sweetheart, he is not disrespecting you. That's just his opinion. Freedom of speech, you know." Well, I used to go back home, lock myself inside my bathroom,
and lather my face with sunscreen and fairness cream because his statements traumatize me. No teacher, he was not using it rights or freedom of speech, he was misusing it and abusing me. If you all want to know how freedom of speech can be abused, ask that guy who confirms himself as a gay, yet people taunt him, people call him by names because those homophobic people believe there should only be two gender, males and females. Well, they say truth comes from clash of arguments. True. But truth do not come from clash of ill-informed opinions. If you all want to know how freedom of speech can be abused, ask that woman who was slut-shamed just because her hymens were not secured. Now, who will tell these people that hymens get cured because of various other reasons as well? No, they can't give her a character certificate. They can't tell her whatever they want to. I'm sorry, they are not using their right to freedom of speech. They are misusing it and legitimately abusing that woman. I agree, abuse can be obvious and leave you pain and bruises. But trust me when I say this, abuse can be less obvious and leave you only internal pain and suffering. Psychological or physical, abuse is abuse, no matter you believe it or not. So, have you all heard a song, She Eats Your Hurt Like Jeffrey Dahmer? Yes, that song. It's actually glorifying a serial killer in the name of freedom of speech. Agreed, it is not abusing anyone, but it is promoting abuse. Most of the time, the most homophobic, sexist, and racist speeches are normalized. Let's take a recent example. It's of a comedian who actually dissed an entire community based on their religion. People on social media were like, take a chill pill, bro, that's just humor. How could it be humor when a whole community felt attacked? Humors are supposed to be funny, not humiliating. We reach up to a point where people attack an entire group of people by calling them rapists, monsters, terrorists. Sorry, it's not a fair freedom of speech, because freedom of speech do not give you right to lie, hate, or abuse. Dear everyone, freedom of speech is not a license to abuse, it is a responsibility, so use it wisely. Be careful with your words, because once spoken, it can only be forgiven, not forgotten. It is a blessing if used wisely. Otherwise, freedom of speech can be abused. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sneha Maske, for your, let's say, thought-provoking speech. You have come up with very good example. But my suggestion is, if you have come with some authentic sources about freedom of speech, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, Socrates, Voltaire, American independence, then French Revolution, and Areopagitica by John Milton. If you have quoted some sources what freedom of speech is, then your example, there would be the combination of, let's say, authentic sources with local example, global example. It would be a wonderful and outstanding. In coming days, try to come with some authentic sources about the definition and implementation of freedom of speech. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, as sir said, most of your examples are too personal. You know, there are ample examples of hate speeches and things like that around the world. You could have means pride into those and brought them. One thing. The second thing is your understandings of sex, gender, and sexual orientation is faulty. Like, instead of saying there are only males and females, you could say there are only heterosexuals, people with heterosexual beliefs, so that those are the people who deride the gays and the lesbians. Although a gay is also a male, you know, and a lesbian is still a female. So the problem is with sexual orientation, not with their biological sex or gender. So you have to be very clear about that. Otherwise, it was a wonderful delivery.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful deliberation of her words.
Election is around the corner, and especially now, youth in politics has been a burning issue. And to share her views on the very topic, we invite our next participant, Prakriti Sigdel from grade 11, morning shift and from section K.
स्वदेशमै जनतालाई काम देऊ सरकार, सक्दैनौ त बेरोजगारी नाम देऊ सरकार, अझै कति दिन बस्ने हामी विदेशीको दास बनेर, बस्छु बरु तपस्यामै धाम देऊ सरकार। हो यस्तै जागरणका साथ उठ्नुपर्छ अब हामी युवा। आदरणीय यस कार्यक्रमका सभाध्यक्ष महोदय, निष्पक्ष निर्णायक मण्डल, श्रद्धेय गुरुवर्ग, मेरा प्रतिस्पर्धी र अप्रतिस्पर्धी मित्रहरू तथा यहाँ उपस्थित सम्पूर्णमा म ग्लोबल कलेज अफ म्यानेजमेन्टको कक्षा 11 सेक्सन के मा अध्ययनरत छात्रा प्रकृति सिग्देलको तर्फबाट स्वीकार्नुहोस् सादर नमस्कार। आजको यस वक्तृत्वमा राजनीतिमा युवा शीर्षकमा आफ्ना विचारहरू प्रस्तुत गर्न सभाध्यक्ष समक्ष अनुमति चाहन्छु। सभाध्यक्ष महोदय, युवा शब्द सुन्ने बित्तिकै सबैको मनमा हाँकयुक्त शक्ति, हरेक अप्ठ्यारोलाई सहज बनाउने शक्ति, विषम परिस्थितिमा पनि अविचलित हुने शक्ति, समाज रूपान्तरणको संवाहक, नवीनताको पर्याय भन्ने लाग्दछ र यो सत्य पनि हो। संसारमा भएका युगान्तकारी परिवर्तनहरूमा युवाहरूको अग्रणी भूमिका रहेको छ। कुनै पनि देश विकासको गतिमा अगाडि बढेको छ भन्ने कुराको लेखाजोख गर्नुपर्दा त्यो देशमा रहेका युवा कति शिक्षित, सक्रिय, अनुशासित र आत्मविश्वासी छन् भन्ने कुरा हेरिन्छ। नेपालको पनि राजनीतिक, आर्थिक, सामाजिक र समग्र विकासमा युवाहरूको अवस्थाले नै भूमिका निर्धारण गरेको पाइन्छ। यसरी हरेक क्षेत्रमा उल्लेख्य योगदान दिँदै आएका युवा वर्गप्रति समाजले आशा र भरोसा राख्नु स्वाभाविक र न्यायपूर्ण हो। तसर्थ नेपाली राजनीतिमा पनि युवाहरूको प्रवेश, सक्रिय र हस्तक्षेपकारी भूमिकाको अपेक्षा समाजले गर्नु त झन् सान्दर्भिक र आवश्यक देखिन्छ। मूल नीति हो, राजनीति बिना देश चल्दैन। यसरी सिङ्गो राष्ट्र नै अब बुढेसकालले छोएका र आराम चाहिने उमेरकाहरूलाई कुर्सी खोज्दै आउन पर्ने दुःख किन दिनु त? काली गण्डकीले हजारौं पटक ठोकेर सुन्दर बनाएको त्यो ढुङ्गो पूजा कोठाभित्र पस्छ, तर मेरो घर छेउको राक्षसे चट्टान जस्ताको त्यस्तै छ। मेरो मन ठान्छ भोलिको जाडोमा रुगाखोकीले भेट्टिहालेर उपचारका लागि भारत गर्ने हुँदा देश चलाउनु छ है भन्ने पीर उहाँहरूको मनमा नहोस् न। बुझ्नेलाई श्रीखण्ड र नबुझ्नेलाई खुर्पाको बीड भने चाहिँ एक समय थियो जहाँ आमा बुवाले आशिष दिन्थे, बाबु ठुलो मान्छे बनेस्, मन्त्री बनेस्, नेता बनेस्। तर अहिले भन्छन् बाबु डाक्टर बनेस्, पाइलट बनेस्, तर मन्त्री चाहिँ नबनेस् है। समस्या त्यहाँ छ। अब यो सब हुनुमा हाम्रा उमेर पुगेका नेताहरूलाई दोष दिने कि राजनीतिप्रतिको हाम्रो बुझाइलाई त? युवाको भूमिका राजनीतिमा खोज्ने दिन आएको छ। युवाहरूको सहभागिता त छ राजनीतिमा, तर सङ्ख्या होइन, गुणात्मक रूपले पनि हुनु पर्यो। युवा 40 कटेसी रमाउने होइन, 40 नकट्दैदेखि देशका लागि रमाउने हो। नेपालका हरेक ठुला आन्दोलनहरू युवा सहभागिता बिना असम्भव जस्तै थिए भन्नेमा कसैको दुई मत नहोला। तर विडम्बना, हरेक आन्दोलनहरूपछि युवाहरू खोला तर्न प्रयोग भएको लट्ठी जस्तै किनारामा फालिए। खोला तर्न युवाको प्रयोग त सबैले गरे, तर तिनीहरू के चाहन्छन्, के सोध्छन् अनि उनीहरूको मुख्य मुद्दा के होला भन्ने कुरामा सायदै कसैले ध्यान दिन चाहेन। सबै कुरा बेलैमा बुझ्न सकेको भए सायद मैले पनि गाई र बाघले गोहीको तलाउमा गएर तिर्खा मेटाएको त्यो महान कथालाई आफ्नो धर्मग्रन्थभित्र घुसाएर कर्मको 12 खरे पो कोर्न सक्थेँ कि? आज यस मञ्चमा वक्ता मात्र बनेर होइन, एक अनुशासित विद्यार्थी र असल नागरिक बनेर बोल्दैछु। इच्छाइएका कुराहरू कल्पनाले मात्रै प्राप्त हुँदैनन्। सोचेकै भरमा चाहेको भोग्न सकिँदैन, गर्नुपर्छ। हेरेकै भरमा गन्तव्यमा पुग्न सकिँदैन, हिँड्नुपर्छ। त्यसका लागि असल र सभ्य नेतृत्वको आवश्यकता पर्दछ। राजनीति मूलतः सेवा हो, पेशा होइन भन्ने यथार्थलाई ध्यानमा राख्दै अब युवाहरूलाई पनि राजनीतिमा अवसर दिएर केही परिवर्तन ल्याउँ भन्दै यहाँबाट बिदा हुने अनुमति चाहन्छु। हस् त, धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद प्रकृति सिग्देल तपाईको काव्य प्रस्तुतिको लागि। तपाईको प्रस्तुति एकदम भाषिक रूपमा काव्यिक रूपमा मन चाहिने मतलब मुटुलाई प्रभावित खालको मतलब प्रेजेन्टेसन। हामीसँग मुटु मात्रै छैन, दिमाग पनि छ। मुटुले भावना खोज्छ भने दिमागले फ्याक्ट खोज्छ के। मुटुले इमोसन खोज्छ भने दिमाग। त्यसैले तपाईको प्रेजेन्टेसन एकदम मुटु छुने खालको, तर अतिकति थोरै भावना सँगसँगै फ्याक्ट र क्याम्पस मतलब दिएको भए सुनमा सुगन्ध हुने थियो। तपाईले प्रेजेन्टेसन गर्दा सुरुमै सभाध्यक्ष भन्नुभयो। यहाँ सभाध्यक्ष छैन, कार्यक्रममा छ र छैन, सभाध्यक्ष बनाइएको छैन। अनि तपाईले भन्नुभयो संसारका युगान्तकारी परिवर्तनमा युवाको भूमिका छ भन्नुभयो। त्यो जेनरिक कुरालाई, क्लेमलाई प्रमाण दिनु पर्यो। कुन कुन युगान्तकारी जस्तै भनेर इक्जाम्पल दिएको भए अझ कति राम्रो है। यसैले तपाईको काव्यिक सँगसँगै यो दिमागी ऱ्यासनालिटी, रिजन र फ्याक्ट सँगसँगै लानुभयो भने तपाईको प्रस्तुति साँच्चै मतलब आई हेभ अ ड्रिम लेख्ने मार्टिन लुथर किङ जुनियर जस्तै इम्प्रेसिभ हुनेछ। तपाईले हजारौं लाखौं मान्छेलाई आफूतिर आकर्षित गर्न सक्नुहुनेछ भन्ने मेरो सुझाव। थ्याङ्क यू।
थ्याङ्क यू सर।
What a mesmerizing performance now, wasn't it, audience?
Moving forward with the program, next up we have Prasamshaman Karmacharya from grade 11, section D, day shift, who will be speaking on the topic freedom of speech can be abused. Prasamsha, the floor is all yours.
Mic check. A wise man speaks because he has something to say. However, a foolish person speaks because he has to say something. Greetings, everyone. I am Prasamshaman Karmacharya. Freedom of speech. It's not a new concept that was just introduced to us yesterday. It's been there for a long period of time. Yet nowadays, in the recent decades, it's being misused and abused. It's being disrespected by most or everyone. I agree with everyone that everything has a positive and negative side, and so does freedom of speech. Freedom of speech started with the start of democracy. It was what allowed us to express our opinions. It was what allowed us to state our views. It is what allows us to mold the rules and regulations of the country according to our will, according to us. However, in the recent years, if we look, the freedom of speech and its positive use is being decreased and forgotten slowly, but the negative use, it's being increased. People say that it was just an opinion and I intended best for them, and I am sure you did. I believe you that you were wishing for the best. However, it's not about the only look at that. We all did it. We have to stop asking only what they said. We have to ask how and why they said it. We are free, everyone. We are free to express our opinions. Some people will disagree, some people will criticize you, and some people will not think it's a good idea what you just said, and some people will also be shocked by the words that are coming out of your mouth. However, that does not necessarily mean you should stop speaking. It is you have the freedom to speech, yet there's a limit to it. There's a limit to what you can speak. If you say the same words to the same person at the same scenario, but with the intention of hurting them, abusing them, or disrespecting them, that is not acceptable. And that is no longer the freedom of speech. That is you abusing it. You go home, you complain about some place that you did not like, maybe because of its service. That is totally fine. It is all up to you. After all, you do have the freedom of speech. Yet, if you continue to do that again and again, that no longer becomes a freedom of speech. That becomes a problem of you not utilizing our freedom of speech. That becomes discrimination. That becomes bullying. That is not freedom of speech. People often miscommunicate freedom of speech with the freedom from consequences. However, that is simply not true. Freedom of speech gives you responsibility, a responsibility that makes you accountable for every and any consequences that occurs. You will be responsible. People say that freedom of speech has been abused and everybody knows it, or most people don't. Even though some people claim that they know it, it's still hidden. It's still hidden, it's really minimal. People hide nowadays. People hide behind the screens. People hide behind the digital cameras. Yet, they still continue to abuse other people. The victims of those abuse of freedom of speech, many drastic changes are occurring in their life, yet nobody notices it. Nobody notices, all because of what? All because the abusers do not know the importance of freedom of speech, all because they did not know how to respect it. Once a word has been said, it cannot be recalled. I repeat, once a word has been said, it cannot be recalled. Even though we have the power and we have the freedom to speak what we want, it should not be abused and it should not be used for bullying and other purposes, because it will damage another person's life. Lastly, in the heart of man, I'd also like to say that freedom of speech is not just a wonderful collection of words. It is more than that. It is an expression that can be expressed in a lot of ways, an expression that gives us an identity, an expression that will help us speak up for ourselves, an expression that will protect us. However, while using our freedom of speech, we should not abuse it by claiming other people, claiming false information, bullying other people. That itself should be stopped. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. I appreciate your fluency and self-confidence, the confidence with which you stand. But the entire body of your speech is like a moralizer. It's a speech. Your speech lacks evidences, citations, examples, references to text and institutional, documents. You said freedom of speech started with the start of democracy. I was wondering when democracy actually started. I thought you'd quote some date, you'd cite some evidences, and you just passed it over. You see, and you said, once the word is spoken, it cannot be taken back. I agree. But legally, it can be taken back. Like, you apologize, you reply, you deny, or you admit things. These are gestures of, taking back things. So, when it comes to a system of justice, there are provisions in the courts that you can go and confess, or you can reply. You can take back your words. So those things also you have to take into account. And rest is all very okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your powerful words.
Next up, we have Anushmiti Bhatta from grade 12, section D, to paint us a clearer picture of justice is never the same for all. Let's welcome her with a big round of applause.
Right is right, even if everyone against it, and wrong is wrong, even if everyone are for it. Namaste and a very warm good morning to everyone present out here. It's me, Anushmiti Bhatta, and today I am going to express my view on the topic, justice is never the same for all. Justice, which was meant to be a strong pillar for the foundation of freedom, faith, and fairness, has now turned out to be just a risk instead of justice. Since our thousands of opportunity directly and indirectly rely on the choices and the preference of others, it has become a threat that can fire all our emotion and dreams at once. Justice is not about equity anymore, but more about a strong, wrong perception of people. If a girl who likes to carry herself in a fashionable way by wearing unique and stylish clothes is unfortunately abused, then the entire bunch of people get divided into two groups. One who blame the girl for wearing such clothes or simply looking beautiful, and the other who actually blame the abuser. If a girl is lucky enough, then she is blessed with the second group of people and has chance of getting justice to some extent. But if not, then her life takes the worst turn ever. This is how justice nowadays changes its color like a chameleon. As per the situation, as per the desire, and as per the dear, once the color changes, the decision changes. Right now, I have a 1,000 rupee note in my pocket. This 1,000 rupee note is equivalent to the amount of justice we get in the society today. More the bank balance, more the chance of getting justice, and less the bank balance, less the chance of getting justice. And if you have this, then you can easily run away from giving justice, or simply you can say that you can run away from your crime. If a rich kid go and make an accident and bring the life of an innocent to a hospital bed where not just the patient but the entire family battle between the trauma of life and death, then that's okay, as it's all about money. What justice giver want is money, and the worst part is, instead of fighting for their freedom, instead of fighting for their safety, what justice receiver want is money. Taking a handful of cash and keeping their mouth shut is what they prefer. The problem is that we don't have a clear path of vision. There is a very thin line between same and similar, but our opinion do get puzzled. But now it's time for us to let the jumbled threads of emotion fly high up in the sky so that we can raise our voice against injustice and we can fight for justice. Like Martin Luther King said, even I believe that justice should be granted to everyone, and justice will be provided to the one who needs it and who deserves it. Thank you.
Thank you, Anushmiti Bhatta, for your fluency in speech. The gist of your presentation, justice has become a sellable commodity in the market. This is the one-line gist of your presentation. The very good thing, you are very fluent speaker. Your pitch level is also very appropriate as per the content. But the thing is that safer is lacking. You know safer? Statistics, anecdote, facts, example, evidences, reason lacking. Martin Luther King Junior Matri. There are two Martin Luther King. Speak out the full name. Martin Luther King Junior. You can quote from I Have a Dream, a letter from Birmingham jail by the gentleman. Okay. Then other different component of justice, distribution, recognition, participatory, parity, capability, equity, equality, these things lacking. Okay. In coming days, try to incorporate these points in your speech on justice. Thank you.
I very much agree with Professor Sapkota on his observation, and two observations from my side. One is, your examples are very personal and many are imaginary. Most of your examples are imaginary. Suppose if, like that. And the second thing you did is, you quoted Martin Luther King. You spelled his name, but you did not quote his saying. You created your own, and you tagged it his name. So this is deception, and we are clever enough to catch that. So next time, from letter to Birmingham jail, you can quote lines like, "Justice delayed is justice denied." This line is from letter from Birmingham jail. So you could recourse to such authentic sources to substantiate your speech in the days to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful thoughts.
Next up, we have Smarika Koirala from grade 12, section C, day shift, who will be sharing her views on the topic freedom of speech can be abused.
Oh, the power this mic holds. The mic that I have in my hand right now, this mic gives me 5 minutes of time to speak whatever I want to. I could speak the most derogatory, most racist, most sexist thing I can and get away with it. But you know what they say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that is the end of the debate. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My very warm regards to the utmostly revered dignitaries on the dais, fairly decisive jury members, and everyone gathered here today. I, Smarika Koirala, am extremely honored to be standing here in front of you all to speak on the topic. Freedom of speech can be abused. I still remember that 6th grade Smarika back when her social teacher made fun of her in the class for having this little mustache as a girl. I know, funny, right? That's what they thought. But that Smarika went home and did the first thing that came to her mind. Took her father's razor and shaved her face off. While her mom told that, "Sweetie, that's not the right thing to do. People will say whatever they want to. You just need to learn to be less vulnerable." Mom, I might be less vulnerable right now, but little do you know, I still wear mask in my class because I'm uncomfortable of the opinion others have of me. Jason Bell. Jason Bell is a 15-year-old boy from New Jersey who has committed suicide because he was bullied for being gay. This is what freedom of speech has created today. Here, Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that everybody has the freedom to express their opinion or views. But don't get me wrong, I know the Constitution has clearly given you the freedom of speech. But last time I checked, and I'm still sure, no Constitution has ever given anyone the freedom from the consequences of the speeches. You might pass on anything, any comment you can, and I am out here not allowed to be vulnerable, not allowed to react to it. How fair is it? And don't get me wrong on this. I am not a flag bearer of no freedom of speech should be restricted. I am not a flag bearer of censorship. What I am trying to say is that when you know it's wrong, when you feel that it is not good to abuse someone for how they look, how they feel, why do you end up doing it? I'm not trying to make this as controversial, political, and as controversial and political it already is. I am just looking into it from a social perspective. I just want you all to join hands with me. And doesn't matter if you are not listening to me right now, even if 20% of you people think that tomorrow somebody might get hurt, somebody might feel bad because what you think about them and what you speak of them is derogatory and is somehow racist, sexist, or includes any form of mental abuse or verbal abuse, then I can see the change in the society. Even if 5% of you people out here be a little bit less self-absorbed and admire people for who they are and speak less but think with your heart and then speak by thinking twice, that's when I know that I've won. That's when I know that the freedom of speech is no longer abused in the society. Lastly, what I want to say is everybody out here has somehow been a victim of freedom of speech and somehow created another victim from their speeches, be it a student, be it a friend, be it a teacher. Everybody in some way have said something that might have created a huge impact in somebody's life, but in a negative way. If tomorrow a girl doesn't slut shame her friend casually for being in a relationship with a guy, that's when I know the 5 minute out here is a success. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, Ska,
Sorry. So sorry.
do you want to escape our comments? No. So, congratulations. I enjoyed your speech, your confidence, your fluency, your grammatical accuracy and correctness. Now the comment is, there is a fundamental difference between a debate and an elocution. When you are speaking as a public speaker, you don't take positions. You consider both sides, the pros and the cons. Here, you spoke like an activist, like speaking in favor of something in a debating competition. This is one thing. And when that happens, your emotions overpower the facts. So no statistics, no references, no facts, no examples, either local or global. This is one thing. Another thing is, whenever you smiled, I thought you were speaking, you were talking about some pleasant, but the facts were very grim. Still you're smiling. So the mismatch between your gestures and the content is a serious problem in your speaking. You have to correct that. Thank you.
Thank you for your powerful words.
Next up, we have Abhishek Gautam from grade 12, section D, who will be presenting his views on the topic Youth in Politics.
आजको युवा भोलिको नेतृत्व निर्णायक मण्डल आदरणीय गुरुवर्ग दिदीदाई भाइ बहिनीहरू मेरा साथीहरू तथा सम्पूर्ण प्रतिस्पर्धीहरू आजको यस वक्तृत्व कला प्रतियोगितामा म अभिषेक गौतम राजनीतिमा युवा शीर्षकमा आफ्ना केही धारणाहरू प्रस्तुत गर्न गइरहेको छु। सर्वप्रथम त ग्लोबल कलेज परिवारलाई म धन्यवाद ज्ञापन गर्न चाहन्छु हामीलाई यस्तो सुनौलो अवसर दिलाउनु भएकोमा। सुरु गरौँ। राजनीति राज्य सञ्चालन गर्ने नीतिलाई राजनीति भनिन्छ। नीतिमा सर्वोत्तम नीतिलाई राजनीति भनिने गरिन्छ। राजनीतिलाई परिभाषित गर्नुपर्दा प्रजाको शान्ति सुरक्षा कायम गर्ने, उनीहरूको मौलिक अधिकारको कदर गर्ने, राष्ट्रको शासन व्यवस्थाको प्रणाली निर्धारण गर्ने, राष्ट्रिय र अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय नीतिको उपयुक्त सन्तुलन गर्ने र यस्तै अन्य कार्य गर्ने नीति वा सामाजिक सिद्धान्तलाई राजनीति भनिने गरिन्छ। जसरी बिहानीले दिन कस्तो हुन्छ भनेर जनाउँछ, त्यसै गरी नै राजनीतिले राष्ट्रको भविष्य कस्तो हुन्छ भनेर जनाउँछ। राजनीतिले राष्ट्रको मुहारलाई रूप दिने काम गर्दछ। युवा संस्कृतको युवन धातुबाट बनेको युवा शब्दले तन्दुरुस्त वा राम्रो भन्ने अर्थ दिन्छ। राजनैतिक परिवेशबाट तपाईँले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने युवालाई चाहिँ उमेर र एजेन्डाको रूपमा परिभाषित गरिएको छ। उमेरको रूपमा हेर्दा 15 देखि 40 वर्ष समूहका व्यक्तिहरूलाई चाहिँ युवा भनिने गरिन्छ। युवाहरू रसिला, जोसिला र होसिला हुन्छन्। यिनीहरूसँग अनुभव कमै भए तापनि महत्त्वाकांक्षा हुन्छ, जसको प्राप्तिका लागि यिनीहरूसँग दृढ विश्वास र सङ्कल्प हुने गर्दछ। जस्तै कि बालेन शाह भए, हर्क साम्पाङ भए। एजेन्डाको रूपमा राजनीतिलाई परिभाषित गर्नुपर्दा युवालाई परिभाषित गर्नुपर्दा युवा भनेको सोच पनि हो। जस्तै कि उमेरको हिसाबले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने म चाहिँ एउटा युवा हो, तर यदि म समाजमा व्याप्त लैङ्गिक, वर्गीय, जातीय, धार्मिक र अन्य विभेदहरूको वकालत गर्छु, तिनीहरूको पक्षमा म बस्दछु भने म चाहिँ प्रौढ हुँ। तर यदि म राष्ट्रको विकास गर्नुपर्छ, सामाजिक, आर्थिक र भौतिक रूपमा राष्ट्रलाई समृद्धि दिलाउनु पर्दछ भन्ने सोच राख्दछु भने म चाहिँ युवा हो। अब प्रश्न उठ्न सक्दछ, त्यसो भए त केपी ओली पनि युवा हुन्, त्यसो भए त शेरबहादुर देउवा पनि युवा हुन्। हो, उहाँहरू पनि युवा हुनुहुन्छ, किनकि उहाँहरू आबद्ध पार्टीले जुन सोच उनीहरूको घोषणा पत्रमा उल्लेख गरेको छ त्यो युवा सोच हो। तर हामीले विगतका वर्षमा यो युवा सोचको कार्यान्वयन त प्रष्टैसँग देखिसकेका छौँ। त्यसैले उहाँहरूलाई ठ्याक्कै युवा चाहिँ भन्न मिल्दैन। राजनीतिमा युवाको निकै नै धेरै महत्त्व रहेको छ। उनीहरू सृजनशील हुन्छ, उनीहरूमा नवीनता हुन्छ, नवीन जोस, जाँगर, उमङ्ग, उत्साह र सोच उनीहरूमा हुन्छ। मैले अघि नै दोहोऱ्याइसकेँ, उनीहरूसँग महत्त्वाकांक्षा हुन्छ र त्यसको प्राप्तिका लागि उनीहरूसँग दृढ विश्वास र सङ्कल्प हुने गर्दछ। उनीहरूसँग देशमा आमूल परिवर्तन ल्याउने, आशातीत प्रगति ल्याउने हुन्छ। तपाईँ उदाहरणका लागि फ्रेन्च रेभोल्युसन लिन सक्नुहुन्छ, जसले चाहिँ प्रजातन्त्रको 3 विचार इक्वालिटी, फ्र्याटर्निटी र लिबर्टीको विकास गरेको थियो, त्यसमा पनि युवाहरूकै बाहुल्यता थियो। यस्ता क्रान्तिहरू विश्वमा धेरै घटिसके, जस्तै रसियन रेभोल्युसन भयो, नेपालकै 7 साले क्रान्ति भयो, 52 साले क्रान्ति भयो, जसमा युवाहरूको सहभागिता थियो। म अर्को उदाहरण लिन चाहन्छु, सिङ्गापुरका एक व्यक्ति ली क्वान यू, जसले चाहिँ युवा उमेरमा सिङ्गापुरको प्रधानमन्त्री भई सिङ्गापुरलाई आर्थिक, सामाजिक र भौतिक रूपमा समृद्धि दिलाएका थिए। यस्ता उदाहरणहरू पनि संसारमा टन्नै छन्, जस्तै कि नेपोलियन बोनापार्ट भए, जिग्मे खेसार, तमिम बिन हमाद अल थानी भए, जेसिन्डा आर्डिन, ग्याब्रियल बोरिक र अहिले नवनिर्वाचित ब्रिटेनका प्रधानमन्त्री ऋषि सुनाक भए। यी कुराले के पुष्टि गर्दछ भन्दाखेरि राजनीतिमा युवाको निकै नै धेरै महत्त्व छ। म बारम्बार दोहोऱ्याउने गर्दछु, लासामा सुन्छ, कान मेरा बुझ्छ। यी अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय उदाहरणहरू नेपाली परिवेशमा काम गर्दैन। नेपाली परिवेशमा तपाईँले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने राजनीति भनेको निकै नै जटिल विषयवस्तु हो। भूराजनैतिक दृष्टिकोणबाट तपाईँले हेर्नुहुन्छ भने नेपाल भनेको निकै नै संवेदनशील राष्ट्र हो र कहिलेकाहीँ नेपाललाई पुँजीवाद र साम्यवादको एउटा खेल मैदानको रूपमा पनि हेरिने गरिन्छ। यस्तो राजनीति सम्हाल्नको लागि एउटा कुशल, अनुभवी र परिपक्व राजनेताको आवश्यकता पर्दछ, तर नेपाली युवाहरूमा यो राजनैतिक परिपक्वता खासै पाएको भेटिँदैन। त्यसैले उनीहरू दैनिक 3000 को दरमा विदेशी नै लहर बढ्दछ। तसर्थ फलस्वरूप नेपाली युवाको सामाजिक कार्यमा संलग्नता न्यून रहेको छ। एउटा राजनेता बन्नको लागि राजनैतिक योग्यता आवश्यकता पर्दछ, तर नेपाली युवाहरूमा त्यो बिरलै पाइएको हुन्छ। हुन त सबै नेपाली युवाहरूले ग्लोबल कलेज पढ्ने अवसर पनि कहाँ पाएका छन् र? हामीले वयम राष्ट्रिय जागृयामको भावनाबाट दीक्षित भएर काम गर्न जरुरी छ। निष्कर्षमा म के भन्न चाहन्छु भन्दाखेरि हो, राजनीति भनेको निकै फोहोरी खेल हो र यो फोहोर सफा गर्नको लागि कोही न कोही, अर्थात् हामी युवा यो फोहोरको डङ्गुरमा जानै पर्छ। राजनैतिक पार्टीहरूले पनि सत्ता र सम्पत्तिको लोभ नराखी राष्ट्रको हितको लागि आफ्नो शासन व्यवस्थाको सुधार गरी युवाहरूलाई प्राथमिकता दिन जरुरी छ। युवा सोच, युवा मन भएका वृद्ध तनहरूले युवाहरूलाई सत्ता हस्तान्तरण गरी मार्गदर्शकको रूपमा भूमिका खेल्न आवश्यक छ। युवाहरूले पनि आफूलाई राजनैतिक रूपमा परिपक्व, सक्षम र सबल बनाई राजनीतिमा होमिन जरुरी छ। आफ्नो भान्सा आफै सफा गर्नुपर्ने भएकाले विदेशी नै सोच त्यागिदिन पर्छ। सारा नेपालीहरू पनि धैर्यवान भई युवाहरूमा आफ्नो समर्थन जगाइराख्न पर्छ। अन्ततः वसुधैव कुटुम्बकमको नारालाई अवलम्बन गरी यदि हामी अघि बढ्यौँ भने पक्कै पनि सर्वाङ्गीण समृद्धि र समृद्ध नेपाल, सुखी नेपालीको नारालाई हामी साकार पार्न सक्दछौँ। मित्रस्याहम चक्षुषा सर्वाणी भूतानी समीक्षे मित्रस्य चक्षुषा समीक्षा महे। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद अभिषेक गौतम। तपाईँको स्पिच अथवा वक्तृत्व कला आकर्षक छ। तपाईँको वक्तृत्व कलामा अब प्रजा नभन्ने कि प्रजा भनेको सामन्तिकालीन शब्द हो, अब नागरिक भन्ने। प्रजा भनेको सब्जेक्ट हो, नागरिक भनेको सिटिजन हो। नागरिक अधिकार भएको नागरिक हुन्छ, प्रजा भनेको यो प्लुरलिस्टिक वर्ड। त्यसपछि तपाईँले युवाको बारेमा व्याख्या गर्नुभयो, धेरै राम्रो। तर फेरि तपाईँले एउटा काउन्टर आर्गुमेन्ट दिनुपर्ने थियो कि अहिलेको युवाहरू जस्तो युवा तिम्रो नसामा तातो रगत हुनुपर्ने, तर तिम्रो नसामा कोकिन र स्म्याकको नसा लतपतिएको पाएँ। यस्ता युवालाई कसरी अगाडि बढाउन सकिन्छ त्यो कुरा थोरै भनिदिएको भयो भने। अनि अर्को तपाईँले इक्जाम्पल दिने बेलामा जस्तो नेपालमा मन्त्री परिषद छ, त्यहाँ कतिजना युवा छन्। त्यसपछि मतलब नेपालभरि अहिले चाहिँ स्थानीय निकायको चुनाव 753 पालिकाहरूमा त्यहाँ कतिजना युवा छन्, अनि देश कस्तो गइरहेको छ। अनि त्यस्तै एउटा चाहिने मतलब ब्रिटेनको अथवा न्युजिल्यान्डको अथवा चाहिने क्यानाडाको मन्त्रीमण्डलको कम्पेयर र हाम्रो कम्पेयर गरेर युवाले गर्दा यसो भयो भनेर अझै स्पेसिफिक इक्जाम्पल सहित आइदिएको भए राम्रो हुन्थ्यो। अनि तपाईँले यो वसुधैव कुटुम्बकमलाई वसुधैव भन्दा आफूले प्रोनाउन्सिएसन गर्ने, जुन चाहे इङ्ग्लिस होस्, चाहे संस्कृत होस्, चाहे नेपाली होस्, चाहे हिन्दी होस्, त्यसमा शुद्धता हुनु आवश्यक छ। अनि लास्टको घन्टी भइसकेपछि तपाईँ जति बोल्नुभयो नि त्यसले तपाईँको नम्बरलाई नेगेटिभ मार्किङ हुनेछ। थ्याङ्क यू अल।
अभिषेक, तपाईँले हामीलाई सुरुमा राजनीतिको परिभाषाहरू सुनाउनु भयो। त्यो परिभाषाहरू कुन स्रोतबाट कोट गरियो, उद्धृत गरियो भन्ने कुरा थाहा पाइएन। तपाईँकै परिभाषालाई मानिहाल्न पर्छ भन्ने पनि भएन। दोस्रो कुरा, 15 देखि 40 वर्षको समूहलाई युवा भनिन्छ, यो कसको डेफिनेसन हो? कुन संस्थाको एउटा आधिकारिक प्रकाशनमा यो छ, किनकि यसमा विविधता पाइन्छ विश्वभरिमा। र 15 देखि 40 को युवा भनियो, फेरि ऋषि सुनक 43 वर्षका लागि उदाहरणको रूपमा प्रस्तुत गरियो। विरोधाभास त मैले देखेँ नि, त्यो विरोधाभास आयो त्यहाँ। तेस्रो कुरा, हामीले नेपालको युवा भनेपछि खालि बालेन शाह र साम्पाङलाई एउटा आइडियल इक्जाम्पल बनाइरहेका छौँ। मेरो मत के छ भने यिनीहरू भर्खर निर्वाचित भएर आएर केही काम गर्दैछन् होइन, एकदमै सफल युवा राजनेताको रूपमा उदाहरण बनाउनकै लागि अहिले इट इज टु अर्ली टु जज दिस टु पिपल है। एउटा कुरो, उनीहरूले कति अझै गल्ती गर्न बाँकी छ हेर्न त पर्यो नि। अर्को चाहिँ तपाईँले चाहिँ यु टक्ड अबाउट फ्रेन्च रिभोल्युसन र भन्यो फ्रेन्च रिभोल्युसनमा पुरा युवा थिए, यसको भिडियो एभाइलेबल छ, न फोटो छ, यो गफ दियो। आई वाज एक्सपेक्टिङ कुन सोर्समा पढेर यो मान्छेले यो भनिरहेको छ, कुनै फ्रेन्च रिभोल्युसनमा आधारित किताब पढेर भनेको हो कि भन्ने आश थियो, त्यो कहीँ पनि आएन। अर्को कुरा चाहिँ वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम चाहिँ जानेको कुरा ठोक्दियो, तर यो कुरामा कहाँ रिलेभेन्ट छ यो युवा राजनीतिमा आउनु र वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम? यो त बच्चालाई पनि लाग्छ, बुढालाई पनि लाग्छ, जसलाई पनि लाग्छ, जानेको कुरो ठोस दिने, यस्तो पनि गर्न भएन। यु हेभ टु बी केयरफुली डिस्क्रिमिनेटिङ। र अन्तमा समृद्ध नेपाल सुखी नेपालीवाला कुनै एउटा पर्टिकुलर पोलिटिकल पार्टीको सरकारको नारा हो यो, त्यसलाई एउटा चाहिँ जेनरलाइज एउटा आइडियलको रूपमा प्रस्तुत गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो त्यति चाहिँ ठिक चाहिँ भएन जस्तो मलाई लाग्छ। बाद बाँकी इट वाज एक्सलेन्ट।
What a contagious and outstanding deliberation.
Subsequently, we have Miss Jigyasa Khadka from grade 11, section F, day shift, who will be clearing our confusions regarding the willpower and will to power topic. You have the floor all to yourself, Jigyasa.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Think about it, for I don't have to. For all I see is a winner. That's it, full stop. All I see is a winner because that is my will. My will is my power, and my power, it lies in my will. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the word will means? W-I-L-L, will. The self-asserting ability to achieve something in life. Will, the supreme of the supreme quality possessed by Supermans. And power, power is strength, right? But there is just one word I would like to use for power, and that is you. For you are a huge ball of power yourself. And today, we will realize the importance of will to power. Because ladies and gentlemen, when life kicks you brutally in your lungs, it is your will to power that reminds you how getting knocked out is the only way to remind your lungs how much they liked the taste of air. Let's go back to the 19th century when a German philosopher called Friedrich described will to power as an irrational force present between all of us. He described will to power not something which is beneath you, but something that is high, high above you. So will is this internal ability, right? So what gives power to that will? What adds fire to that will? It is you, ladies and gentlemen. For when you have the will to climb the mightiest of the mighty mountains, it is your will to power that will determine how far you can climb. If you don't have will to power, the mountains will shred you into pieces. Take inspiration from people like Stephen Hawking or people like Jomo Kimide, whose will is their power and whose power lies in their will. You all now might be wondering, where does this thing called will lie? Don't search for it. It lies internally, here. It's beating. It's beating and beating and beating, and it's asking you, when will you give me the power? Do you know the American Psychological Research Agency conducts annual stress surveys in America?
It was found out that 57% of Americans think lack of willpower is their #1 barrier of change. And why wouldn't it be? Tell me, why wouldn't it be when we live in a generation where we're commingled between our will and our brain? Don't worry, dear audience, for I am the same. My brain, it lurks in front of me and it says, you are worthless, you are worth nothing, and you should give up. But my willpower walks confidently, listens to what my brain has to say and says, try better next time, try harder next time, for I know exactly what my words are worth. Ladies and gentlemen, you might all be wondering which YouTube video did this girl watch to be able to blabber upon willpower for this long. I don't need a YouTube video when I have a woman who turned her wounds into wisdom, her blame into faith. My mother, I've seen my mother getting strangled upon by the society. I've seen my mother getting stampeded on. And I've seen my mother holding an umbrella and shielding me and my brother from all the powers, all the bricks and stones the world threw us at our face. She held the umbrella tight. But do you know what happened next? She put down the umbrella, she walked in front, and she created a castle. My mother created a goddamn castle out of all the bricks and stones the society threw upon her. Now that is willpower, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, put your hand on your heart. Come on. Put your hand on your heart. You feel that. It is still beating, right? So the next time it beats, I want it to beat for your goals. I want it to beat for your purpose, because that is how you develop willpower. So here is an open challenge to the world by a girl whose willpower is as high as her heels. Dear world, come on, what are you waiting for?
Thank you, Jigyasa Kharka. Jigyasa Kharka Tali Parka, okay? Your acting, your acting is more impressive than your speech, okay? Jigyasa Kharka, you are the one and the only one to deliver a speech on this topic. That's great. Then willpower and will to power. There are two terms in your topic. Will to power, that's positive connotation. Willpower, positive connotation. Will to power, desire of getting power. Economic power, political power, or different powers. You have to define these two terms. You fail to define these two terms at the beginning. Willpower arouses your curiosity. Curiosity develops confidence. Confidence develops comprehension, leads you to collective work. Then collective work makes you, community, we can say critical thinking. Critical thinking leads you to creative thinking, and good thinking leads to you communication. Okay. Then willpower. Then will to power, you have to say, Plato say, people who are reluctant to rule, they rule well, and people who are willing to rule, they rule very badly. Okay. Therefore, will to power and willpower. Try to get the meaning between these two terms. Sir. Okay, and then we can say, not much gesture and body language means not like playing drama on the stage. Okay, mind these things. Other things, thank you for your, we can say, vitality, enthusiasm, and this confidence. Salute to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jigyasa.
Yes, sir.
I second every word Professor Sapkota said. And to add, you named 19th century German philosopher Friedrich. And that way you bandwagon, because who is that Friedrich? Friedrich is just a single name. There should be another name if you were clear about this philosopher. So you were more guided by the idea that if you quote a philosopher, everything you said would be justified. That's not the thing. I think you wanted to talk about Friedrich Nietzsche. Right. The second thing is, it was an emotionally charged speech with exaggerated gestures, with rise and fall that were not in order with the content of your speech. The third thing is, by giving examples of Jhamak Kumari and Stephen Hawking alone, you escaped the other part, that is will to power, the political connotation of your speech. And another thing is, you gave your mother's example, but you did not tell what exactly had happened. What was the incident? What was the cause? What was the accusation? You said she was accused of so many things and she fought back and came out winner. But what was that actual incident? We did not know. Lastly, you challenged to the entire community. I was wondering, by dint of what? What were your achievements to challenge? Cool, look at me and I am the epitome of willpower. What have been your achievements? Who are you? You are just a grade 11 student of Global College. That alone cannot make you the ideal figure to claim that you challenge other people to have willpower like yours. So these are the things you have to keep in your mind when you speak next time. Otherwise, it was a fabulous delivery.
What an amazing performance now, wasn't it, Shreya?
Of course it was. I think the audience was just spellbound. Following this, we have Yogyata Dangal from grade 12 D, section D, who is for sure going to blow our minds with her contagious and unconventional beliefs on the topic, justice is never the same for all. Join me in welcoming her.
The opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. Good morning to the respected panel of judges, teachers, and the lovely audience. My name is Yogyata Dangal, and today I will be talking on the topic, justice is not the same for all. We all have a need for justice when we are wronged or when we see others are wronged. Merriam-Webster defines justice as the quality of being just, impartial, or fair. You get less wages than your co-worker just because of your sex. What do you seek for? Justice. You get treated unfairly solely because of your sexual orientation. What do you seek for? Justice. If I slap you, you will want to slap me back because you think that that's the right thing to do. You feel that that's fair and that is just for you. Fairness, ladies and gentlemen, does not mean people getting equal things or equal treatment, but it is people getting treated the way they deserve. The Constitution ensures justice for all, but in a country where corruption and inequality continue to prevail, justice is bought, justice is biased, justice is a privilege. You must have gotten tired of hearing this, but let's face it, it has been more than 4 years, and did Nirmala get her justice? A guy from an economically well family hit a pedestrian to death while driving and got out on a bail of rupees 5 lakhs. Does this mean that the pedestrian's life was only worth rupees 5 lakhs? Did she get justice? God forbid this, but had it been a businessman's daughter instead of Nirmala, would the evidence be destroyed? Had it been a politician instead of the pedestrian, would the scenario be the same? Could the culprits get away so easily? Ponder upon it. Walzer once said, justice is a human construction and it is doubtful that it can be made in only one way. Looking back at our history, in 1941, our great martyrs were executed because they spoke against the tyrannical Rana regime. Fair for the Rana rulers because the autocrats simply could not bear anyone opposing the rule. But looking at it from a citizen's point of view, looking at it from a nationalist point of view, from the point of view of the martyrs themselves, was it fair? Was it just? Speaking against the Rana regime and seeking for their rights, seeking for democracy, was this reason enough for them to get assassinated? Did the martyrs get justice? Was justice the same for all? The Bible, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 15 states, You shall do no injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great. Ironically, in most cases, the one who gets justice in the court is the one with a sound financial and social status. Rich and powerful people get justice almost instantly, and that too in their favor. But for common people, most of the times, justice is delayed. And justice delayed is justice denied. Now I ask you, is justice the same for all? Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, women had to fight for their right to vote. Homosexuality is still criminalized in more than 69 countries in the world. And till date, women need to fight for getting equal wages as that of men. Martin Luther King Jr. had to raise his voice and fight against racial injustice. Where is the social justice here then? Now, all I ask is, was justice the same for all? Is justice the same for all? And will justice ever be the same for all? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Yogita Dangal, for your very, let's say, sober and modest presentation. That's very good. You come with a good, let's say, content as well as some specific example. That's a good thing to you. One thing, Merriam-Webster is a person's name or dictionary?
Dictionary.
Yes, you don't say Merriam-Webster say. We can become confused. Is she a scholar or dictionary? I have read Merriam-Webster dictionary. You didn't exactly whether it's dictionary, encyclopedia. Another thing, justice delayed, justice denied. It is not your statement. It is a statement made by Martin Luther King Jr. in his essay, Letter to Birmingham. You didn't quote the source, okay? This is called plagiarism, bauddhik chori, okay? Other things, your speech, your pitch level is very fine. Keep it up. Thank you all.
Yogita, this is not the first time I have listened to you. I also remember you reciting poems or doing some other delivery, not only here but also in spaces outside. So you are doing so well, and I personally recognize you. That's a great thing. The second thing is, you see one thing, this is not true only for you, but true for other speakers as well. You, especially girls, you start with gendered examples most of the time. And here also you start, you don't realize this, but we realize that. So, gender orientation, Nirmala, these, that, and women and things. So, talking about justice, there are so many underprivileged groups, the racial minorities, the immigrants, the poor, the Hispanics, you see, the blacks, or you see, George Floyd, that case in America who was strangled to death, and there are many physically disabled, crippled people with so many incurable diseases and all. So you have to be little more kaleidoscopic, okay? You have to be comprehensive. Don't just be limited by your body and gender orientation. यो कहिलेकाहीँ थाहै नपाइकन हुने एउटा विकनेस हो के हामीले अलिकति समग्रतालाई पनि अवलम्बन गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ देखिन्छ otherwise you did it so well, your gestures they completely fitted with your speech, and I particularly liked it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
What an invigorating and stupendous delivery it was. Thank you.
As our last, but definitely not the least participant of the day, we have Arman Lama from grade 12, section I, day shift, who will be presenting his views on the topic, freedom of speech can be abused. Let us welcome him with a huge round of applause.
Can you all imagine what will happen if I slap you? Is there any answers from the crowd? What will happen if I slap you? Evidences has shown that you will obviously feel pain. There's a 100% chance of you feeling pain. You will feel pain, but most of all, you have a strong urge. You will have an urge to take revenge because you want what is just. You want what is fair. You all will want justice. In this breathing morning, hello and a warm morning to everyone. It's me, Arman Lama, a normal teen from Global College of Management. I would like to thank each and every one of you to be present in this wonderful scenario to listen to my speech. Now let's begin. If I may, I would like to pose an interesting question. Shall I? The justice that we talk of, does this justice really exist? Nowadays, everywhere we go, there's a talk about fight for justice. But hear me out, people. As a wise man once said, heaven doesn't create a person below or above another. You know, people just like to throw their words around. And that's not all though. He goes on to say, people tend to change over time. They may be similar at birth, they may be same at birth, but they change over time. It's not I who said it. It's the empirical evidences that show. So, as they change, truth be told, at the end of the day, justice that we so-called is just a fantasy. And many of us go through life denying that we live in a meritocracy. Sharing my past memories, once I was in a neighborhood where racism was at its verge. There was a black man, and I have heard stories of him obviously. The story goes like this. There was a black man, his mother was raped in front of him, but his father was helpless. Why you say? Because black people are not treated the same as the white people are. Is it really true? Does justice really make sense in this scenario? In other one, there was a person, he was really magnificent, he was, benevolent, and most of his kind in his own way. He was a man who every girl dreamed of. He was a wonderful man. But one day, he was accused of murder, which he had not committed. And there are 3 points of view in the story. The first is, the people saw the person getting arrested. They thought, oh yeah, he must be a criminal, he got arrested. Justice was served. But from the other perspective, there was this small notch, the group of people who knew the truth. They were like, why didn't the boy get justice, even though he was innocent? Why didn't justice spread its wings? And from the third perspective, justice, the people got what they desired. They thought the man was a criminal, he got arrested. Their desires were fulfilled. So indirectly, justice also leads to fulfillment of desire, in a bad sense though. So, what good is our reality? When truth fails and dishonesty prevails, what good is our reality then? Wake up to reality, everybody. Justice does not exist, and even if it does, it's not the same for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Arman Lama. The file that is given to us, your topic is freedom of speech can be abused. But you deliver a speech on justice. Okay, one thing. Another thing, you say justice is not fair, that it is not what I say, but empirical evidences shows. And what are the empirical evidences? You could not give any empirical evidences, okay? And the topic is freedom speech can be abused or delivered on justice. Be mindful the topic that you have to deliver.
Hold on, sir. What was your topic actually? Justice is not the same for everyone. Sir, my topic was justice is not the same for everyone actually. I think that was a printing mistake.
That was a printing mistake, fine. Now what you did is, Arman, you took about a minute or so to prepare the audience to enter your topic. You did it so late. See, when it's a 5 minutes of speech, meandering about the introduction, warming up for a minute, and there you were talking initially about freedom of speech as well. There was a phrase that you mentioned. So that confused us more. Point number one. Point number two, you gave us imaginary examples. Suppose there was a guy in my neighborhood, suppose somebody was raped, suppose this and that. These imaginary examples do make us understand things, but it exposes that you lacked reading and research. this is exposed. So in the days to come, you have to be careful about your study and research before you come on stage. Okay? Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for your incredible performance. Now,
Anushmiti Bhatta, Smarika Koirala, Abhishek Gautam, Jigyasha Khatka, and Arman Lama. Thank you, sir. As the results are being tallied, please enjoy the song played.
हिजो आज तिम्रो मेरो कुराकानी